Here we had the ambassador of CRAP, Joe Jenkins, telling us a little bit about how to manage the compost bins.
It's really simple, you know, it's really simple, but these little details make all the difference.
You make a compost bin, you can dig deep, then you have to make some hole like a bowl, so that you can be able to spread the soil, and in case you are adding any liquid, it will not spill out of the compost.
I just want to point out that we're not digging deep. It looks deep because we pulled all the dirt around the sides here, so it makes it look like we dug deeply, but we didn't. We just scraped the top a couple inches off.
Yeah,
it's easy, it doesn't take long, and it's an important design characteristic to any compost bin. So here we have a compost bin, cover material on top. We got fresh stuff we're going to add to the bin. So the first thing you want to do is pull this cover material out of the way. Just pull it around like that. So now there's the compost there. So I'm just going to dig a hole in this compost like this. So basically I just went and pulled it around in all directions. Now I've got a pit. You see down in there? See what it looks like? I can feel the heat coming out of that. We're just gonna dump that down in there, see? And then we're just gonna dump that down in there. All right, so I'm just gonna add this water to the bin. Then we've got to cover everything back up. We're going to use this, and you'll notice that I'm putting this compost back over top of that, you see. So now the fresh material is gone. It's underneath there, right? Then we're going to pull this back like this, and then we need a little bit more cover material on that top. Just one more handful. You can't put too much cover material on top. You could have it this thick. It doesn't matter. It's not going to hurt the compost. What matters is that you got to be able to dig through it, like I showed you, to get to the compost underneath. So that's it now. It's finished. Every time you add something to that compost pile, you follow the same procedure. Pull this out of the way, dig a hole, put the new stuff in, cover it with this compost, and then cover it back up like this. Pack that down, and then you won't have to worry about flies. It doesn't matter what you have. If you put it down inside there, it'll compost faster.
What can I add in there? What type of material?
Well, one thing I'm composting a lot of right now are dead animals. The biggest that I've composted is a large dog, but most of them are raccoons. They're about this big, probably 30 pounds. Chickens, ducks, cats, anything that dies. You could probably compost a goat if you could fit it in there. You have to really bury it well in the compost. If you're doing dead animals, you have to really bury it well. And the best thing to put over it is this fresh stuff out of the toilet. You know, you dig a big hole, you throw a dead cat in there. You take these toilet containers and you cover that dead cat, and then cover it with compost, and then more cover material. The efficiencies here are one, the cover material in the toilet is wood shavings, which I don't recommend. You can use them if you have nothing else, but it suppresses the biological activity. The wood particles are too big. Bacteria will eat small wood particles because there's more biofilm on each particle, whereas these big chunks they just won't eat it. It's not food for them. Plus the cover material is too dry. It's in bags, it's under a roof, it needs to be wet and damp and biologically activated. So at least what they can take what they already have and biologically activate it. But they really should, if they want the compost to be good, they use a finer material. Secondly, the more food is in here, the better. So every scrap of food that you can get, peels and anything thrown out of the kitchen,
Including meat.
meat, bones, grease, fat, everything. And then green material, anything green, this kind of stuff. The compost loves green stuff, but anything green you can throw in there, that'll elevate the temperature.
And that green material, would you add in the center of the pile or as a covering?
You can do both. It could be you can see nothing here but green material because it's clean. Or you can put it into the center. Depends on how much you have. If you have a lot of it, you'll probably just use it as a cover. It'll eventually end up in the pile.
And what if I have animal manure? Is
Same
it
thing,
possible to
exactly the
add
same
as
thing.
well?
Into the center. Always
Cat,
dog,
anything.
always into the center. And in a compost pile, you shouldn't smell anything, nothing. So all manures, everything goes in the middle. The only thing around the edge is this cover material.
What is the reason for not adding ash?
You're feeding the compost pile. Compost pile is like a goat. You feed a goat what a goat wants to eat. You feed a compost pile what a compost pile wants to eat. Compost pile wants to eat plant material, dead animals, leaves, weeds, all that stuff. It doesn't want to eat ashes. It doesn't want to eat dirt. Dirt's the end product of composting. Ashes have no carbon. Carbon is what burns. So you don't want to feed a compost pile ashes or dirt because it's the same as feeding a goat manure.
Would you recommend urine diversion in the toilet?
Absolutely not for composting. If you're composting toilet material, you want all the urine to go into this compost bin. The urine provides essential moisture and nitrogen. And compost piles love to be damp, and they love that nitrogen to balance the carbon cover material.
Where is the best place to locate the compost bin?
Ideally close to the toilet. If it's an outdoor toilet like this, nearby the toilet. If your toilet's in the house or in your building, which is where it should be, then any handy place that's out of the way.
Would you recommend to have the compost pile in the shade or under the heavy sun?
It doesn't really matter that much if you're using a cover material like this and using enough of it. It can be right out in the heavy sun in the desert, and it'll stay. This cover material protects it from the sun. It protects it from the cold, it protects it from freezing, it protects it from the rain. If you have heavy rains, put more cover material. You always protect your compost pile from the top, not the bottom.
Can you tell us something about how to dimension it? What is the best size for the compost bin?
Compost bins should be dimensioned for human use. So the width of a bin, if two people stood on opposite sides and reached out and touched their fingers, that's the approximate maximum width. You have to be able to work all of the compost with a tool. If you make it too wide, you can't reach the center. As far as height goes, approximately a meter, meter and a half. maximum. If it gets too high, then you run into problems with compaction and lack of oxygen. And other than that, the length could be anything. So if you have a 2 meter wide bin that's 1.5 meters high, it could be 100 miles long or a kilometer long. The length is irrelevant. So you can make long rows of compost if you're making hundreds of tons of it.
You should think about the airflow, right?
That's kind of a misconception. As long as the compost is held up above the ground, there's air inside it. The walls of the compost bin do not have to allow air to pass through. You can build a bin out of bricks, blocks, metal. It doesn't have to be air permeable. As long as it's up above the ground, you're going to have air inside the bin. You don't want the bin on concrete, you want it on soil. You want the bottom dished out into a bowl so there's nothing can leach out the sides and the bottom. You can make it out of whatever's locally available. Some of the nicest ones I've seen were just sticks woven together into a wall.
Like baskets.
Like baskets, and they doesn't have to be round, it can be square. Or it could be long. You can make them out of pallets. You can make a pallet bin in 10 minutes. So the bin's the easy part. You can make a bin out of just about anything. You can put your bin up against the wall. If you have a corner, you've got 2 sides already made. You just need to add 2 more sides. When the bin is full, and you're using a material like wood shavings, that are hard to break down, which is the same as rice husks. They're hard to break down. Wool, things like that. Hair, take a long time. When the bin is full, just leave it alone. Let it sit there. It can sit there for the rest of your life. It's not going to hurt it to sit there. When you think the compost is done, it takes a long time for that wood to break down. That's done by fungi. The bacteria are what creates the heat, but the fungi break down the wood. And it takes longer, and it's a slow process. So bin might sit there for another year. It doesn't matter, it can sit there as long as it's not a space issue, it can sit there for 2 years. Normally you would fill this completely full, and that means it could be piled up with the cover material on top and wait approximately 1 year after it's done filling. Once you fill it up, you don't touch it, you don't do anything to it. You wait approximately a year. In a tropical environment like this, maybe 8 months, but a year is what I would recommend. There's a couple ways to test the compost when you're finished. You can plant some seeds right in the bin and let them grow. Chances are things will already be growing in it. Or take some of the compost out, put it in a container, and put the seeds in the container. That's how you test. It's called a germination test. You let the seeds sprout in the compost to see what they look like. If the compost is immature, the plants will be yellow. They won't be healthy.
So we just pick the compost without putting any soil in the container?
Right, no soil, just straight compost.
Oh, okay.
That's how you do a germination test.
About applying the compost, is there any limitation, or I can apply as much as I want?
You can apply as much as you want. There's no limitation.
It won't kill the plant?
No, not
if it's mature.
If it's mature, no, the plants will thrive in it. Here's what I consider to be the first mistake when using this type of compost toilet, and that is the toilet has no odor. So it should be located in a convenient location inside your house, inside your office. There's no reason to put it out on the other side of the property. The idea that a compost toilet should go where the pit latrine used to be, that's a mistake. The compost toilet should go where you want a toilet. In your bedroom, beside your bed. I have one in my office. I have 2 and 2 bedrooms in my house. I have a main one downstairs. I have 2 in my office, 1 upstairs and 1 down. There's no way I'd put it outside 100 feet from the dwelling. Why would you do that? There's no odor, there's no drain, There's no vent, there's no electricity. You can put it wherever you want to put it. Put it where it's most convenient. Not out in the middle of nowhere. Who the hell's going to use it? Pit latrine should be closed off, capped over, and used for storage. This would be a good storage building. And then the toilet should go inside in a convenient location. So if you get up in the middle of the night, it's pouring down rain, there's your toilet at your fingertips. Having it out like this makes it inconvenient. What if it's pouring down rain? What if it's the middle of the night? What if you have 3 kids? You don't want to come out here to use a toilet. You want the toilet in the house. So you make a space, you put up a curtain, you put up some kind of privacy screen, you find a little room that's available. That's where you put your toilet. Then when it's raining and it's the middle of the night, it's lightning and thundering, you got 3 kids and they all have to pee, you can do it. It's easy and convenient, everybody's happy. So, location, location, location. You see this cover material? See all these big chunks? If you're what you're using in the toilet, these things shouldn't be in there. They just slow the compost process down. If you're composting for a community and making big piles with a lot of mass, this will work better. But in a small backyard bin like this, you really should have some finer material. This will work. It just suppresses your temperature and makes the compost take a longer period of time. Let me just show you a couple of things with the toilet. This is actually good. The distance back, the container, the receptacle, back from the front should be about 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches. This toilet receptacle here, the top of that should come all the way up to the top of this. That's important.
Flat.
Yeah, should be flush, if not slightly higher, depending on the type of toilet seat you have here. Ideally, this part of the toilet would be flush with this or slightly protruding so you can pick it up if you need to, but every toilet seat is different. They're all different size, different shape. This one's oval, some are round, and so the main thing is that the ring, the hole in the ring here is centered over the receptacle. So in this case, this is correct. Toilet paper goes in the toilet. All urine goes in the toilet. Anything like vomit, if you're sick, your kids are sick or you're sick, vomit in the toilet. You can put menstrual pads in the toilet. Most of the material on the menstrual pads will decompose, but there's a strip of plastic that won't. So if you put menstrual pads in the compost, which I did for 10 years, maybe longer, when the compost is finished, you have to pick out those pieces of plastic because they'll still be there. They don't decompose. The important thing is that whatever's in there is covered with this cover material. So when you look in the toilet, what you see is the cover material. And I want to add that when you start using the toilet receptacle, always have cover material in the bottom.
Is this the biological sponge or how do
Well,
you call it?
Biological sponge is in the compost bin. The only reason you're doing this is it just makes it easier to clean.
Would you throw a plastic diaper inside the bin, inside the bucket? No. That's too much plastic.
No, yeah, you don't want to throw disposable diapers in there. That's too much plastic. Supposedly they're making them that are biodegradable now, compostable. I haven't really seen them or tried them. Always wash your hands. So, with soap ideally. Then you're finished.